Okay, thank you for your time, Jeff. And as we know, Hyperliquid is the most influential crypto protocol in the last year. So my first question is, can you walk us through your journey before founding Hyperliquid and what experience shaped your path to crypto?
Sure. So I grew up in the US, or graduated 2017 from Harvard, studied math and computer science. And before, I guess back then, if it wasn't that long ago, but it feels like a very different time. Like everyone who studied math or was interested in working in math or computer science kind of didn't have that many options. It was a bit of a lull in the startup scene. Like the sort of big social media stuff was kind of over, but then AI stuff hadn't really gotten that big yet. And so, all of us basically decided between like staying in academia, like doing research, or the sort of industry choice was often to go into quantitative trading. And so I went to Hudson River Trading, which was at the time, and I think now as well, one of the biggest market makers in U.S. equities and other things in TradFi as well. And so when I joined, it was super cool. It was basically startup vibe, but doing trading stuff. So got to think about a lot of interesting math and learned about markets and how to apply quantitative thinking to markets. And in around 2018, I learned about Ethereum and thought it was super cool. I basically read the yellow paper and had heard a bit about it and just thought this is going to be the future of finance. So basically, since leaving HRT, have basically been in crypto the whole time. And so by around 2022, I was doing with a few other people, we were doing quantitative trading in crypto, and both looking at centralized venues and decentralized venues. And it was around then that FTX collapsed, and we really saw the impact there, and basically felt like people were at that point going to understand the value of self-custody and basically be ready to trade crypto in a decentralized way. And at the same time, we saw that there was a lack of this like very user-friendly kind of basically user experience focused exchange, and figured why not try to build something that's both satisfies the decentralized principles and also really just focus on users. And yes, an exchange that users felt like really what was theirs. And so that kind of like that has been in the DNA of Hyperliquid ever since the beginning.
Got it. So can you share more things about the early days about building Hyperliquid? Also, at first, would you ever thought Hyperliquid will so successful like today? And even someone also called Hyperliquid as the next Binance. Do you agree with that?
Definitely didn't think that it would necessarily be this big. I think we always, I think I've always dreamed big. I think it's easy to. I think in the world it's easy to kind of do very well just by working harder than other people and kind of sort of having faith, but also having like a long-term vision and commitment, and just realize that things aren't built quickly, and kind of be willing to bounce back from failure and things like that. So I do think all of that is true. So I think we always I think even now, I think we still have like bigger visions of what it can be. But of course, back then it would be foolish to say that we knew it would be big. And I think a lot of that is hard work from the team. A lot of it is community, kind of right place, right time, like rallying behind the idea that was important. And I think a lot of it is also just luck. I think you can never say that you have that it was like a sure thing.
Yeah, got it. So I think the community also has a question about that. Did you totally build Hyperliquid entirely with your own funds at the first? And why did you choose to reject all the venture or other people's investment? And what's the philosophy behind this decision?
Yeah, so it has entirely been self-funded. I think I just uh yeah, I was never really doing it for money. I think like trading, even before Hyperliquid, money was I think trading teaches you that money is really just a number, and I'm not a super I'm not very materialistic. Like uh my I don't actually have anything to do with money. So like for me it's about like doing something interesting and like valuable to the world, and that and so like I was pretty happy to just yeah, like even if it failed, just like, you know, whatever, and like optimize for the success case. I do think with Hyperliquid, it's very unique because part of the vision is, well, I guess the whole vision is kind of reinventing how people interact with finance and value and what that means for them. And so I think with such a radical goal, I guess like pushing people to try something radically new and something that maybe there feels very unfamiliar, um, I think it's tough. And I think one of the things that resonated with a lot of people was that the ownership should be kind of community driven. And I think back when Hyperliquid started, actually, I think the standard thing to do was to raise money, very big rounds from VCs and generate a lot of excitement, like raise sort of one round after another, like generate traction that way. Feel like, oh, you know, we're making progress because last round we raised was at 1 million, and now this one's at 10, and then at 100. But that it always just felt kind of fake to me. Like that's not real progress. Like real progress is, you know, users actually getting value from what you're building, and users being able to benefit in the upside, not a bunch of investors who just like threw some money in at an early time. So that was kind of the vision, and I think that spoke to a lot of people and was actually I think we're very fortunate that everyone can rally behind that vision, and yeah, so that's kind of the story behind it.
Got it. Also, many people noticed that the Hyperliquid, when you issue token, you did not list it on any centralized exchanges. So why do you choose to do it? And is there some strategy reason not listing in like Binance or the Coinbase?
I think they could have listed it at whatever they wanted. Our framework has always been focused on building and build what users want, and don't care about what other people maybe like, just kind of like stay focused, laser focused on what we're doing. Like we're a super small team. We don't have business development really. Like we have people who work with the community and ecosystem, but we don't have the sort of institutional facing full-time team that many other teams have. And so yeah, we kind of didn't have capacity to help. And we thought, you know, we thought like it would be basically everyone would come to this decision themselves, and we were pretty happy either way. Like if some platform wants to list it, that's cool because that means their users, maybe that's like exposure for their users. And if other platforms don't list it, then that's also fine because over time they will list it anyway, probably if assuming that we do our work and build good tech. And it also just like means people have to come if they actually care about it, and let's say they're a Binance user and they really like hear about Hyperliquid, but they can't find it, then maybe they'll just go and try Hyperliquid. And we thought, hey, that, you know, that's not a bad outcome either. But really, it all stemmed from just lack of capacity to do more than our very core functions.
So from your view, if you want to say something to the startup or the builders, if they have money or they have power, you also will suggest them not pay much attention on the listing or the venture capital, right?
Not necessarily. I think if you need the capital to do something, And the choices between raising money to do it or not doing it at all, I think that's where VC is a win-win, right? The VC gets to take many bets and they have a lot of capital, and then the startup gets to not worry about funding their operations for a short period of time, and they can just focus on building and scaling. So I think it has its place, and I think, but I guess you're asking if you have capital and have the ability to do something and you really believe in it, then I think I personally think that it makes more sense to, let's say, like, instead of diluting the overall ownership, the pie is kind of, the percentage is fixed, right? Like if you're, instead of diluting that with someone who can provide some short-term benefits, like maybe if the community can own more of the pie, it's I think it's just better. Like long term, it's better. It's kind of more fair. Like these are the most important people.
Yeah.
For the network. Right?
Yeah. Also, my next question is, did you cooperate with some other market maker to build Hyperliquid at the first? Also, will they offer tokens or airdrops? Because actually, I heard a rumor that people said, oh, some very important market maker, they help Hyperliquid to fight with Binance. Just a rumor. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, no private sort of arrangements, whether that's advantages or deals, like no profit or like investment or anything like that. We were approached by a bunch of market makers similar to investors, because I think it was a very standard playbook back then. There were many decentralized exchanges, and what most of them did was raise money and then also raise from some market makers. And then the market makers would sort of commit to providing liquidity. And maybe the thought was, oh, because the market makers are also investors, they would try to do a better job. But we had no investors and no such arrangements. And the thought was always that maybe short term it makes things a little bit more difficult, but long term it's the right way to do it. And many centralized exchanges got some backlash for their, whatever they call it, internal desks or the DMMs, things like that. And I think as a decentralized exchange, it's even more important to not have any of that from day one. Maybe the only exception here is HLP, but I think that's a completely different thing, because HLP was, it's not any one entity. Like any user could have deposited into it, and it's protocol owned.
Yeah. So, how big is the Hyperliquid core team today now? And what's the dynamic like working with such a talented groups?
Yeah, we're 11 people, and it's about half engineering and non-engineering. Yeah, it's very small. The dynamic is good, I guess. So you kind of go through thick and thin together. And yeah, I have a good time working with our team. I think there's a lot we do well, but there's also a lot we could do better. And we're always trying to hire the very best people. So it's not like we want to necessarily stay super small always, but we're very picky about who we work with. And I've always believed, or I quickly learned early on, that hiring the wrong person is much worse than not hiring anyone at all.
So you will hire more people in the future, and what kind of people do you want?
We kind of want everything. It's hard to know because the future is so uncertain. I think Hyperliquid itself is not that old, but has changed over time. Initially it was just the focus was entirely just a perps exchange that was very user friendly and performant and decentralized. But now the vision is so much bigger. There are so many teams building on the platform, and it's gotten so much grander in its vision and harder to execute. So I think in that transition, the number of things that people need to do also changed by a lot. So it's really hard to predict what kinds of people the team would need. I would just say very smart and driven people who have very high integrity and genuinely passionate about what we're building. And yeah.
Also, will you invest more ecosystem projects on Hyperliquid?
Invest in, or you mean like personally, or
invest some like ecosystem projects they build on Hyperliquid?
Well, I don't personally invest in.
Yeah. I mean your team or the foundation.
Well, I don't speak for the foundation exactly, but so far it has not invested in anything. I think it's a bit of I think it's good. It's most important to remain neutral, and so yeah, I think investing can work probably, but also we're not like that would require us or the foundation to spend a lot of time finding all the sort of like all of the genuine efforts doing a particular thing and making sure that they're all kind of treated fairly. And I think that's just like ultimately that's the job of a VC. And I think VCs are investing in Hyperliquid ecosystem projects, and I think that's cool. And it lets a bunch of different people and different capital decide for itself where it should go.
Yeah. So what's the Hyperliquid roadmap in the future, and any big milestone you are excited about and wants to share with the community? And
we don't do milestones too much. We know we often have a few big things that technically are actively being worked on, and I often feel like those things should be launched sort of quickly, but they end up being very complex, and the system is very complex, so need to be very mindful about how things are rolled out. But other than the few things we're working on in the long-term vision, we don't do as much sort of like milestone planning. So don't have a like 1 quarter, 2 quarter, whatever projection. It's just like right now it's the big things are things like HIP-3 implementation and stuff around sort of like multiple, just like making spot trading and perps trading more general, and improving the performance of the system due to just continually increasing load. Yeah, so that kind of stuff just keeps us busy all the time, and it's not. I think it's not that helpful to know the next sort of like multiple things you're working on, and also it's good to be responsive because a lot of the stuff, the world is changing very quickly and finance is changing very quickly, and so being able to also quickly realize what's going on and adapt to it is also important. And if you have a very detailed roadmap, maybe it's harder to like do the right thing at the right time.
Got it. So will Hyperliquid issue its own stable coin in the future, and also will Hyperliquid enter the tokenized stock market?
So Hyperliquid will likely not do any of these things because it's at this point Hyperliquid has transitioned from more of an application in its initial days to more of a protocol now. And what people think of as the application is really just a front end that anyone could create, and sort of like having basically an API for that front end to interact with this blockchain. And the focus now is to really just make this blockchain as performant and scalable and have all the right features to build all the finance on that blockchain. And then the other people, like letting anyone come and build these things that you mentioned, whether it's stable coins or tokenization or anything else. And I think this has a lot of benefits because one team can only do so much, and we're not very interested in building a very big team that's very centralized and kind of has many departments and all kind of like it's like top down controlled. That's not aligned with how I think crypto, or how I think that maybe Satoshi or like other people in crypto, like that kind of thoughts, and it kind of goes against the principles of the technology itself. It's a lot less resilient. It's a lot less robust if there's one company building everything that exists on there. Whereas if the core thing is this decentralized protocol that anyone can interact with and is self-operating and sort of objective and neutral in that sense, and everyone else builds on top and cooperate and compete and compose with each other, that's a very powerful system. I think that's how finance should work.
Okay. You just told us Hyperliquid's core team only have 11 people, and we know like Binance or OKX, they have maybe more than 3,000 or 4,000 people. So why Hyperliquid very successful? And also many other DEX, they are very struggle. Yeah. So what do you think the reasons?
Well, I don't really know what goes on in the other teams, so it's hard for me to speak. It's hard for me to compare exactly.
Yeah.
But I think one big thing is that Hyperliquid is very focused. Like it's not really a fair comparison, because if you look at a centralized exchange, they're really running like 10 businesses. It feels like they have the core team, but then they have probably like a staking team, for example, and like a marketing team, and then they probably have an institutional team. And in my mind, each of these things is kind of like probably a separate company. I mean, I think each of those companies probably still has 10x more people than Hyperliquid, but like the point is they're also just trying to do a lot more in house, and I think it's just a different perspective. And so if you think of Hyperliquid as broadly as like what anyone can do on the blockchain, then I think there are a lot more people working on it. And any one team working on Hyperliquid might be bigger than the core team working on the protocol. So maybe that's a better comparison.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I ask what's your management style like, and how do you lead a team in crypto industry?
I'm not sure what my management style is. You'd probably be better to ask someone who I work with. But okay. I think I expect a lot from people. I mean, we're such a small team and we're trying to do a lot. So sort of, yeah, I think my guess is that I push people to do more than maybe they're comfortable doing. But that might just be true for every kind of CEO, CTO kind of role. Yeah, I'm pretty like hands-on. I feel like so I try not to like micromanage at all, just like give people hard things, and the bigger of a thing someone can do themselves, the better. Just have like full ownership. But on the other hand, I think it's very dangerous to just kind of step back. Like I've always been very involved in the technical stuff, like just being able to know almost everything that's going on the technical side at any point in time. Gets harder and harder, but I think it's like really important to hold on to as long as possible, because, or at least with what Hyperliquid is building, I think it's very important, because everything interacts. It really is like one blockchain, like sort of one piece of node software that secures the whole thing. And if that thing gets unruly or out of hand, and like not two different people are kind of working on it with different perspectives and kind of clashing, then I think that's very dangerous, because the correctness and performance are so important to making the thing scale.
Another question is actually most young people or the startups they join the AI field, and many people think maybe in crypto field there are so many chance to do a startup. As we know, the Hyperliquid may be the only very important or very successful startups in the last year. And so, do you still think there are many startup chance in the crypto, or what do you want to say to these startups? And do you have some suggestion?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to do. I think if you're very smart and young and ambitious, I think AI and crypto are the obvious things to work on. And I think I do think there's a mismatch in talent, like you said. Like I think AI kind of takes the spotlight, and probably for good reason. Like a lot of stuff in crypto is kind of, doesn't crypto doesn't have the best reputation, and there are a lot of sketchy things that happened and continue to happen. And so yeah, I don't really blame people. I think there are a lot of really interesting things to be built in crypto, though, and I think it's all from this perspective of it's not like I think up until now, a lot of the in a sort of very successful like money that has been made in crypto has been extractive, not additive. A lot of more scam style things where it's like just create some demand for a token, and crypto makes it so easy to then just sell the token, and I think that's very unfortunate. It gives people a lot of power, but it attracts the people who want to abuse that power. And I think if you take if that perspective, yeah, there's not much, there's nothing really to build. But if you take the perspective of like finance is outdated and the rails that power it are outdated, and that the kind of only way to upgrade it in a way that's sustainable and really impactful is to rewrite it from the ground up in a way that ownership is not centralized, control is not centralized. I think like if you take that perspective, and there's so much to do because the finance industry itself is so large, the fintech industry is so large. Both of them are much bigger and much more valuable currently than the crypto industry. And yet I think crypto really is offering the best solution to do these things. And so I think over the coming years, hopefully there will be a lot more genuine usage. And it seems like a golden time potentially with all the policy changes and just general optimism around the technology. I think the space has a second chance to make a good impression and build valuable things. And I think once that happens, there will be a continuous self-reinforcing sort of cycle where once there's an example, more people will be inspired to build, and then they'll create more examples. And yeah, I think that's all the space really needs.
Cool. So the last question may be more personal, and if you don't want to answer it, it's okay. And actually, we are crypto media from China, and actually some of my friends in Hong Kong, they also big fan of Hyperliquid, and they own a house from Hyperliquid, I think. Yeah. So you born in the US, but your parents moved from China to the US, right? And so where they born, and can you speak Chinese?
Yeah, so my parents are both immigrants from China, so I think that makes me first generation. Like I was born and raised, and yeah, so I guess it. Yeah, I think I'm sort of like a mix. I suppose like I think a lot of Eastern and Western values are very complementary, and I think that might be a big reason. I think that might be a big reason sort of for Hyperliquid success. Now that I think about it, is that we kind of take the best from both sort of cultural values. I think like American and Western values are essential for those startups succeeding, and I think that's why by and large the biggest startups are in America, and I think will continue to be while the world looks the way it does. And these values are sort of like like believing that a small team can do something, like kind of dreaming big, but also, thinking like individualism, like not really taking the status quo as a given, but thinking that you can change the world. I think that's like a very American way of thinking, and it's very like culturally ingrained in me as someone who grew up there, and something I really identify with. Like I'm not very political at all. Just like want to build, but I think these values, the the founding values like resonate a lot with me. But on the like Eastern side, like I think I'm less well versed in like Chinese history and things like that. Like I think the sort of one of the downsides, I suppose, in my maybe like the previous generation is like if you move to a new country, you like lose a lot of maybe your roots. And so I feel a little bit bad about that, but I understand at high level like many of the principles, and traditionally like I think Chinese values are about, it's a bit more about like humility and like doing more than talking, kind of, and just like work ethic and really just like that, like I like just thinking through that stuff. I think it's kind of comes down from the previous generation, but I think that's also sort of inspired me to like, I guess, build and work the way I do. And I think basically both of these are very valuable and complementary worldviews. So that's like how I think about myself as this person. Yeah, I do speak some Chinese. It was I think my Chinese has gotten a lot worse as I don't really use it anymore. But
yeah, it's okay. Maybe next time we can use Chinese to do a Twitter space or podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, especially all the like technical stuff. I don't know how to say, because I think only work in English basically.
Yeah, okay, it's okay. Yeah. So I think my final question is, can you say something to Chinese community or the Chinese fans? Yeah, because they are very, very, very supportive for the Hyperliquid. Also, maybe some question more interesting, like do you still think the bull market is still on, and what's your prediction about the Bitcoin in this cycle? Yeah.
Well, to the Chinese supporters, 谢谢你们的支持，非常感谢。I don't know too much. It's like a different world. I haven't been to China for a while, and don't. It feels like simultaneously very close and also very far. So it's very cool that there's such a big community, and that they're supportive. And Hyperliquid ultimately is not supposed to be constrained by sort of any boundaries, whether that's political or national or anything like that. Like I think finance, I really believe in free markets and capitalism, and that's kind of like, I think that's demonstrated, like the world has demonstrated that's the best way to increase prosperity and just generally further humanity's, I think prosperity is the best word. And I think Hyperliquid is kind of the extension of that. So I think it's very cool that everywhere in the world people are rallying behind it and succeeding because of it, or like by building on it, etc. And I hope to continue seeing that and support everyone in that process. As for the bull market and stuff, I'm not a super. I don't really. I don't know at all. Basically, I've always been like when trading, it's been fully automated, and my focus has been kind of like understanding markets on a very detailed time frame, and my mental model has always been that on long time frames, it's very hard to say anything confident. And if you think you know, then you're probably wrong. Like I think the smartest people who can make long-term predictions have to make those predictions with a lot of uncertainty. Like I don't think if you ask, Warren Buffett where Coca-Cola stock will be in 5 years, he could tell you like, oh, for sure it will be like big. This is a bull market. I think he will just say like, like this is, he look at fundamentals, etc., and like make some very vague projection. But yeah, so that's that's not my area of expertise. But I also don't think it matters that much. Like I think the thing we're building, I think you care a lot about bull markets and bear markets if your primary focus is like buying and selling tokens. But if your focus is building, then I think it doesn't matter. And in some sense, building when it's quieter is actually nicer because there are fewer distractions. So yeah, that's always been my my kind of lame answer to that question.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Hope we can talk more in the next time. Okay.
Thank you, Colin. Appreciate it.
Bye bye.